heavyweight prospect, one of the best heavyweights. Brett Martin, thank you so much for coming on. How's life right now?
Yeah, good, man. Can't complain, and I appreciate you having me.
Michigan, what's the situation like right now in Michigan? Is it full lockdown, or is people outside like in LA walking around in crowds and everything?
I'd say like the last month and a half or so, it's been pretty locked down. I just started back up at work, working like every day this week, and you're starting to see a lot more people kind of out and about, and slowly see businesses opening. So hopefully, we're getting a little taste of reality right now, and hopefully things get back to normal soon.
How long did you stay home and not go to work?
I was at home for probably like a month and a half, maybe a little longer. I was still going in like if I was on call, I'd still have to go in every day for a couple hours. But you know what I mean? The weeks I wasn't on call, unless I had to go in for, something that was, they say, as essential or not, you know what I mean? But what's that?
Everything's essential, probably.
Oh, and I work for the city, so it's like, we mow, we take care of roads, we take care of pipes and, water lines, sewer lines. So it's like, if we're kind of just in when they need us. So it's like we're kind of like an at like a call kind of employees anyway. So it's like this should how it be. It should be like this all the time. So just leave me at home and then call me when you need me.
Yeah, that's a good situation then, right?
Yeah, right. It's like we're getting a little taste of how it should be for us. It's like, hey man, I like this. It works good for my fighting. Like, yeah, let's do this.
The training must have been at home also. So how did you alter everything during the last month and a half?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know much about my amateur career. I kind of just jumped into fighting right out of wrestling. I didn't have a coach. I was training in a garage and then like with other fighters hitting pads. And then I did a lot of my cardio stuff on my own. I'm a big guy, so even just putting miles in and doing sprints is usually a little bit more at the amateur level than most heavyweights are doing anyways. So I'm kind of just, using my knowledge that I've gained over the years through wrestling and football and fighting now, and getting in with my guys. The last week I've been training with my buddy Jamal, who just scheduled the fight for the UFC. So, it's nice having him in camp because now I actually am getting in a gym and actually rolling and sparring. I haven't had that in a little while, so that's definitely nice.
When you were coming up, speaking of your early days, you fought at a super heavyweight, and I always thought heavyweight shouldn't have a weight limit. It shouldn't be 265. If it's heavyweight, it should be limitless, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah, I like, I wish I could probably fight around like 280. You know what I mean? I feel like, and don't get me wrong, that's my diet. You know what I mean? I don't have a nutritionist. I don't have, you know what I mean? I do a lot of this stuff on my own. I've done a lot of even my promotion on my own, with this new management company that I work with that I started with 3 years ago when, he had nobody. So, I mean, it's just fun for me doing all this. And, so once I maybe get my nutrition perfect, I feel like my weight would be, easy to stay at 265. But, with the lifestyle I live and, the person I am, I enjoy eating and, I'm a big boy. So if it was a all happy world for the big dog, I definitely would like that. And, even if it was like 280 or 285, I'd be very comfortable there. That's what college wrestling was. So, that was always my numbers. Like, oh, I can be 285. That's my cap. So when I started fighting, I never really pictured on making it too crazy big. I just started it out as, trying to stay busy and find something else to do other than wrestling. And, once I got good, I was like, man, I'm going to have to cut this weight to, go pro. And once I went pro, I was like, yeah, it's good for me and, it's fun and, just a challenge. So any kind of a challenge I'm down for. So cutting the weight's no issue. It's just, every fat kid would say he doesn't like cutting weight.
Yeah, I think not even a fat kid, you know what I mean? Anybody's
Yeah,
like,
true.
they hate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. The fat kid in
So,
us, I should say.
yeah, everybody,
Would say,
everybody.
yeah,
Everybody wants
exactly.
to eat. Everybody
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
to eat, man. I want to eat
We,
right now. It's all good.
yeah, right.
Uh, now, Triumph MMA, how did you end up hooking up with them? Did you just walk into the gym one day and it was just there,
Uh,
or was someone hooked
Actually,
you up?
no, I used to go to, back in the day when the fights in Michigan were unsanctioned. That's when I was an amateur. It was like the last year everything was unsanctioned. So when you go to these fights, there's a lot of other good fighters there. And Triumph was like one of the only gyms that was closer to my hometown. I used to live up north a little bit more, like more north in Michigan than where I do now. So making the trip to like Lansing or like, Michigan top team with Detroit, where I also have friends. I mean, I'm friends with guys from every gym in Michigan. I'm a very, light guy. I don't talk a lot of crap. I'm very humbled in what I do. So, just going to those fights and running into those guys, you meet people. And one of the guys from Triumph had actually beat one of my friends. And, through time, he had been showing up to fights where my friends had not shown up. So I didn't have a corner. So I'd be like, yo, Brandon, can you corner me? And he'd be like, yeah, I got you. So he'd rap me and then corner me. So, once I started taking it serious, and I have the smart enough mindset back then to be like, if you're going to go pro, you need to get in a gym and get affiliated with some guys and at least just have people that are smart enough to know what I should and shouldn't be doing. So I ended up getting hooked up. His name's Brandon Emmons. He was a tough featherweight fighter around Grand Rapids. He's currently he's not fighting currently, but he was a tough dude and taught me a lot about the sport and kind of drugged me down here towards Grand Rapids and got me linked up with a lot of great people. And Triumph has just always been a place that opened the doors for me. And whether it was the jiu-jitsu, the Muay Thai, or the MMA side, they're very welcoming. And ever since I was a early pro till now, they've always treated me great. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, perfect fit, man. The proof is in the pudding, man. Look at your resume. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people say you got to go to these bigger gyms and train. I think with me being a heavyweight, I kind of get to cut that little curve a little bit more because there's not a lot of great heavyweights, So, and like I said, I got Jamal Hill from Grand Rapids, and he's 1-0 in the UFC, about to fight his second fight. So I mean, having a guy like that that's right here who's ranked top, I think 40 now at 205 in the world, and being able to work camps with him and him helping me with my camps, I'm just, like I said, I'm a pretty humbled person and even just that. So let alone, the things to come.
The Unsanctioned MMA, the last year you were fighting it must have been some wild things going on backstage, right?
A lot of it was, I would go to these shows before I even fought and watch my friends and they were even like, we would just show up and a couple of them wouldn't be fighting. And then I'd get to the back and be like, hey, man, what's up? Like, oh, we're about to fight. It's like, I thought you weren't fighting. He's like, oh, we got one as soon as we got here. That's why you always bring your stuff. It's like, so it was just wild. You'd show up and, heavyweights that said, I had like 3 or 4 people that would, say they were going to be there and they never show, or guys show up and then they see you and they don't want to fight. You know what I mean? It was just a crazy, wild thing. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess you figure out who the real fighters are in those days.
Yeah, and back then, that's kind of where I wrestled. So you don't get to pick who you get. And I wasn't like, I've never been a poster boy. I'm kind of a chunky guy. So I've always been hated on for that, even when I was a great wrestler. So like all this fighting stuff with people questioning how I look, I'm used to that. So that's never been anything new for me. But yeah, it's been just like life, it's just a different sport and, more great people.
I guess going through all of that will most likely prepare you more for the brighter lights when you get up to fighting for the bigger promotions, right?
Well, yeah, my last 4 scheduled opponents were all ranked to top, 150 in the world. These are all 5-round fights. These aren't like, little pushover fights. I'm not taking fights against guys that have 500 records. I'm taking tough fights, no matter who it is, where it is. I'm going to be more prepared than anybody that I feel like that has even stepped on the Contender Series, let alone their first fight in the UFC. Other than these guys that are superstars that are already coming in. I got 10. How many heavyweights that have 10 or 11 fights that have 9 wins that haven't had a Contender Series opportunity?
Another advantage you have is that you're young. Most of the heavyweights are guys that are already in their 30s, and they're in their 30s as a prospect, which is kind of weird to say, right?
Well, yeah, like the last 3 guys I fought have all been, 36. One was the last guy I was scheduled to fight was 46. So you just hear a lot of stuff about what they want and, what they see. And I keep doing all these things. And, it's kind of just a question mark right now. But, they're never going to take my shine, man. I'm always a happy guy and I'm always going to keep fighting and enjoy it while I'm doing it. So.
All right, 2019, you went 4-0. Could you describe that year as somewhat bittersweet due to how everything played out?
Yeah, I'd say at first I was a little upset. You know what I mean? It took me like 3 months, because I'm a competitor, man. Anybody can go watch those fights, and yeah, it doesn't look good that it's a DQ. My last two fights, but both times in those fights when those first instances happened, it's not like I cowered down and said I didn't want to continue. I continued in both fights. I out loud said spokingly, I don't want to win like this. You know what I mean? I'm a competitor. I don't. You know what I mean? So it took me a while to like accept the fact that it's not my fault. You know what I mean? I can't be mad at myself that I'm putting myself in these big fights. You know what I mean? If I was fighting some bum, yeah, I could have finished him in the first round, but then what am I really learning about myself? You know what I mean? So I learned that, I can stay professional in moments where, other guys aren't being professional. I talked really well on the microphone after the fight when people are booing me and throwing a lot of shade my way. I stayed in there like a true person, like a true fighter, through every instance of the fight, whether it was, winning the fight, losing the fight, or, you know what I mean, a DQ. I've always stayed very professional. And then if you look at my two wins before the last two, both of those guys are very well known. One of them has a win on the Ultimate Fighter, and I finished him in a minute and a half. You know what I mean? So I show that I have worth, and I'm only 26, as you said. So, you know what I mean? I can't be upset with what I'm doing. Nobody else is trying to do the things that I'm trying to do.
The LFA Heavyweight Tournament, LFA 70, the first fight that you had, I felt like that guy Pereira, I don't know, it was like, did he know the rules?
Yeah, Henan Fajeda, and I got no bad blood. Like I said, I'm a very nice guy. I asked for rematches with both of those guys. You know what I mean? I am totally cool with running any fight back, win, lose, draw. Like, you know what I mean? That's a part of the sport. You know what I mean? Like, so I was cool with refighting him, but yeah, I don't really. It's kind of frustrating because you don't know. You don't know. I couldn't speak. He didn't speak any English. It kind of felt like they were bringing me in there to get KO'd. And since I didn't go away, it made him look really bad because he was throwing a lot of illegal shots. You know what I mean? And then same thing with Daniel. A lot of guys get curled up after that first knee, and buckle all down, and the ref calls the fight. I took the knee right on the chin and then keep trying to fight. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's my fault. You know what I mean? Maybe, you know what I mean? But I'm tough, and I just keep trying to show that I'm not going away, regardless of the guy's 6'9", 245-pound poster boy that's punching me in the back of the head. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep fighting until you either got me subbed up or asleep. So I mean, if I'm doing something wrong, call Dana and tell him give me a shout and let me know, because I feel like I'm doing the right things.
Well, you did show a lot of professionalism after that fight, because Fajeda, he was putting the thumbs down like he didn't do anything wrong, and you went on the mic and you were calm and cool, and I feel like that counts for a lot when people see that and how you handle that situation, because you could have went like heel and went off on the crowd.
Yeah, start talking crap about his country, him as a person, and you know what I mean. But no, I've never been like that. I was raised a lot different than that. I remember where I come from. No matter where I'm at in life, I grew up with some very respected human beings on the wrestling mat and as people. So if I ever threw shade or looked bad on TV, or even just in the room with them, just us, they would be upset. So I always try to steer clear of the BS. And I get it, man. I wrestled for years, and like I said, I'm a chunky guy. People don't like losing to people who look like me. I understand it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't like it neither, but I work very hard. I respect and appreciate what I do for myself in the gym and outside of the gym. So, like I say all the time, if you don't bring your A game, I promise you, I'm going to be ready to upset you no matter how you look. So a lot of guys when I wrestled when I was little got DQ'd trying to punch me and stuff, because I'd be winning by 10 points or, just manhandling them or embarrassing them. So it's not the first time people have gotten DQ'd in a sport against me for, being frustrated, and which is what I see from, my point of view. Maybe it's just a mistake, but it seemed like both guys were getting frustrated, or at least Henan knew he had to get me out of there in the first round, because if he ran out of gas, I was going to put him away. So that's just, my viewpoint, but, you never know. That's why I never am sad to, retake a fight that people have a question about. I mean, if you got a question mark, I got like a 95% win rate between my amateur and pro career. So I'll take my odds any day.
Well, Daniel James, he was in the crowd for that fight, and then you fought him in the finals, and then he gets DQ'd. Did he say anything to you after the fight? apologize
Yeah,
to you?
Daniel was a little upset after the fight, which, totally understandable, man. We put a lot of work in. Like I said, I take no hard feelings from any of these fights. So right after the fight, he was really upset, which understandable. It's a tough sport. A couple months later, he had messaged me after some things were said on Facebook, and just, said no bad blood, and he appreciated how, respectful and stuff I was. But yeah, man, no bad blood with Daniel. We had talked before the fight, and it's just shitty. You know what I mean? I hate to say it like that, but it sucks because it made me feel like a bad guy, even though I was I was trying to like make good out of it, and he was still upset. So like it sucked for me when I was there in person because I'm such a huge-hearted person. Like I hated for it to go down that way. You know what I mean? Like we were 4 minutes away from a decision or, one of us winning. That's a 5-round fight. It's a long fight to end like that. So I definitely get the frustration. I was just as frustrated. You know what I mean? Like I don't show my emotions all crazy, but people don't understand how hard it is to win like that. Like that's when you work so hard and you picture yourself submitting somebody or punching somebody out, throwing a kick or, I mean, you vision so many ways of winning for so many weeks. And then you're in there and not once, but twice you win by DQ, back-to-back fights. I mean, you know what that does to somebody's spirit? So I'm still standing here. I'm the same guy. So I think I'm going to be all right whether or not, I win, lose, or draw. Because how many guys have went through what I've went through and aren't getting the respect they deserve, tenfold. So it's all good over here. And, like I said, I appreciate guys like you and anybody that even reaches out to me and shows appreciation for what I do. You know what I mean? Outside of a couple DQ wins.
Hey, it's clear, man. You're one of the brightest, up and comers. You had a fight coming up, right? Well, actually not coming up. It passed in March.
Yeah, it was it got postponed. And even that fight, I asked for Tony Lopez when I was like 3-0. You know what I mean? And they told me no. The commission wouldn't clear it because he had so many fights. Like these are guys. I asked for Josh Parisian when I was 0-0. These are guys I've been asking for years. Josh Parisian goes to the Ultimate Fighter or to the Contender Series, wins. Goes on the Ultimate Fighter, which is kind of like it sucks for him because now he's got to test himself twice, which they say you go on the Contender Series and you win, let alone get a finish in fashion like he did, you're in the UFC. So, I mean, it's not his fault he had to come back and fight somebody like me on the regional scene because that's not supposed to be how it works. You know what I mean? But this is MMA, so it's a brutal sport. But, yeah, so Tony was another guy I've been looking to fight for a long time. So, finally, I'm getting some recognition and, I landed this fight. I was like 6 weeks into camp, feeling good, and just excited to compete. I'm never about saying I'm gonna KO or rip somebody's face off. I'm a competitor, so I like to shine underneath the bright lights. I like to do cool things and surprise myself. You know what I mean? So any tough fight I can get is what I'm gonna get. So I think if you click on my Tapology page, Tony's the only person that's ranked over me other than in the world. So obviously I'm like, give me that fight. That's somebody sees him as better than me. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I was excited for that. And, if something bigger doesn't come before I can fight regionally again, I'm sure that's the fight I'll have, So like I said, I'm never afraid to go to an opportunity or run from anybody. If it's a fight that's not a guy that's 500 and has no point in, fighting me. If it's somebody that's a legit opponent, ranked around me or above me, you'll never see me shy away from that competition ever.
Moving forward, of course, you're going to fight who you need to fight to get to the highest level. Is the UFC like in your sights? Contender Series, it seems like you kind of passed on that last year. So it's like, are you still interested in that? Or are you enticed by PFL and the $1 million? Because $1 million is $1 million.
Yeah, I'm enticed by like Bellator and PFL and one, but at the end of the day, where's the real money? Where's the real promotion? Like longevity. Like I'm not in this just to be a great fighter. Like I want to have a great resume to coach kids, to run wrestling camps, football camps. Anything self-defense camps for women, children. I want to use this as a life, a catapult for the rest of my whole life. You know what I mean? So in my mind, I need to be in the UFC. I need to be that guy in the UFC, whether I'm the world champ for a long time or I'm just the guy there helping everybody and just being the guy I am, at the shows in my regional scene. If you meet anybody that knows me, they know I'm a caring person and I'm trying to do big things for everybody, not just for myself. So that's what it's about. And Contender Series is good, but it's like, man, what I say when they call me with what they're calling these other guys that are 3-1 and never been in a world title fight. You know what I mean? It's just an insult. It's like they're spitting in my face kind of. And, you know, I don't mean to be rude by saying that or, you know, come off wrong, but I'm 9-1. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of my wins, and all my fights are against guys that are tough. Last year, I think my combined record of opponents was like 24-4. Name a heavyweight that's on the regional scene that they signed that's done that. And I promise you, there ain't nobody. I looked. There's nobody. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? It's just, what do you do? So all I'm doing is just keep getting better. And like I said, I trained with some tough people. So when they call me, I'm only going to be that much better.
Yeah, you're very aware of what's going around, because some fighters, they're not really aware. They're just like, oh, I'll just fight whoever I fight, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is I'm not signed with no big management company. You know what I mean? I'm not on Iridium and these companies. You think these companies aren't reaching out? You know, everybody's reached out, and I appreciate that. But you know what's wrong with a fighter wanting to do something for himself? You know what I mean? With the people that he's trying to build around him, you know, his family and other guys in the sport that deserve to be at that level. You know, what's wrong with that? And why is that forbid upon, you know, in the UFC? You know, that's they want you to be on one of their big management companies is kind of what I'm feeling like. So, regardless of what they want, I'm going to keep trying to do it my way. And, you know, otherwise we'll find another way to get in there. And once I meet and talk to people, man, everybody always comes around. So it's just about making that contact, you know?
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll be fighting at the top. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of time. Brett,
yeah, and
appreciate the time, and yeah, just keep grinding, man, and that's all you can do, really, and keep winning, and they can't deny you.
Yeah, I never got into this to, you know, nobody ever looked at me and said I was going to be a world champion or like a professional athlete. So I started in a garage, man, you know, on no point in all of why I started fighting. So to be where I'm even at now at 26 is something to carry a long time. You know, I got belts hanging on my wall that, you know, people dream to have. So, well, yeah, I'll just keep grinding and, you know, things come to good people, and I'll just keep trying to be good people.